Sudan, and SAminimos2 is talking about some of the things, some of his experiences leaving Sudan and coming to the United States with the support of Catholic Charities, and how he has, up to this point, been able to navigate many instances of his own education, and now he's a student at Tennessee State University. And of course, Simon, let's pick up at that by having you to continue our conversation here.
Yes, when I was admitted to Tennessee State University, that was in 2008. I started off spring 2008 in Tennessee State University. And since I do not have a background of being in high school, so I was, a decision to make a major that I can major was a problem. And you know, I went a lot of fields, get advisements in the schools, in all different departments. So I became interested in computer science. And I always ask myself, do I have background in programming? But it gave me a concept that when I was in elementary school, I usually like maths. So somebody gave me a concept that in computer science, there's math. So that's how I became, and I get myself in computer science. Now I'm majoring computer science at Tennessee State University. Yes, and due to the experiences, Sudan is a very large country in Africa. It's a very large country with a lot of problems. It's a lot of conflict, and since the independence of 1956, Sudan have never enjoyed any peace in the country, and this happened to the differences of ethnics between the Christian South and enemies, and the northern part of Sudan, which is dominated by the Muslims. And so this had been the main issue in Sudan. So, you know, since it's about 50 years, people have been fighting a war and a lot of civil wars. And there's even a war in Darfur, the genocide, which is still happening now.
You know, I think you mentioned earlier that you received your primary education in Uganda. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And now, was that because you did not have did not find facilities that you could have attended in Sudan? Or was that the general kind of way that people were educated who lived in Sudan? And did you somehow enjoy a special privilege to be able to even receive education in Uganda? How did that happen? I mean,
that happened due to the war that happened in 1983. So all this time, when the war happened, so people in the south, the war was much concentrated in the south, between the north and the south. So we were not able to go to school in South Sudan. So then I came as a refugee to Uganda. That was in 1994. That's why I started my primary school. So I was there as being a refugee under the care of United Nations, High Commission of Refugee, which is UNHCR. So this is where I had my studies in Uganda until I completed my primary, due to the war in Sudan. Yes.
You know, so in a real sense, it's really difficult for young people in primary school to go to school in Sudan because of the war, and so they go to Uganda. How are they received in Uganda?
Mostly people are received as being refugees since the war happened, like I said earlier, 1983. So there were no schools actually in the south. So people have to go to neighboring countries to get the quality of education that you needed. But there are some small schools in war towns, but mostly you maybe attend 2 days a week. You may not be able to complete the whole week in a school because the authorities being attacked in a camp. But it was recently, 2005, when the North and the South signed the CPA, which is called the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, that trying to transform Sudan from being authoritative government to a democratic nation, where through democratic transformation, where all the citizens have the application of rule of law and able to have enjoy the rights and to elect their leaders through democratic process. So the CP was signed in 2005, and by this time, so the people at least enjoy a war in less than 15 years, but there's still some classes, which is ethnic differences between the people, which is still happening in the south. But since 2005, people were able to go to primary schools. There were more schools being built in the south, so that kids from the neighboring countries, when they come back to the south, able to go back to primary schools or to high schools to get a quality education.
Do you find that when you talk to your fellow Sudanese around here and in other areas, that their information, their background is similar to yours in terms of their transition or their movement from Sudan to the United States of America? With what you're telling me, is that typical as to how folks generally get to the United States from Sudan?
Yes, almost every Sudanese have a similar stories because we've been affected by the same war. And but when the war happened, and a lot of people went to different countries. Some of us likely went to Uganda because it was very close to where I live, a few miles away to cross to the border. So, but in the similar stories, I'm sure all Sudanese have stories, especially who come to the United States. And so when they come here, they were not able to, they turned to get themselves assimilated in American society, especially because most of them went to Egypt, others went to Democratic Republic of Congo, others went to Kenya. So when they all learn different languages, like people who went to Congo, they were able to learn French. But when they come to the United States, so it was difficulties for them to learn English. And people who went like to Egypt, Egypt exactly, Egypt and Ethiopia. So they all learn different languages. So the assimilation of languages become a problem within the Sudanese. But they're able to adapt themselves easily in American life.
And so you find that to be sort of a traditional kind of, a similar kind of way that all of the people who come to this country from Sudan generally face some of the issues that you have had to face in terms of some sort of upward mobility. It's difficult to really get assimilated here. And as long as you're not assimilated, you really don't have an opportunity to enjoy many of the advantages. For example, being able to drive an automobile, own an automobile, and etc. Are those some of the challenges that you think that Sudanese face in this country?
Yeah, actually, Sudanese stories are. At times when you talk, you feel like you may drop tears. So it had been a very difficult situation.
Okay, well, let's take this second commercial break. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.